Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Waiting Room, the show that challenges you to thrive, not just survive in every area of your life. This is your host, Ruem, and in this podcast, I'll be talking about the realities of waiting in every season of life. How we wait is more important than the wait itself, so waiting well is what matters. In this episode, I'll be talking about emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is a topic that has piqued my interest in the last few years. I guess when I first heard of it, I was just really intrigued about what it is. It's one of those words you always known it's there, but you didn't have a name for it. If you're not familiar with the term emotional intelligence, otherwise known as emotional quotient or EQ, is the ability to understand and use or manage your own emotions in a positive way to relieve stress or communicate effectively, empathize with others, overcome challenges, diffuse conflict, and the like. So I think my desire to understand human behavior has fueled my fascination with this skill. And I say skill because I think it is something that you can master over time. I think you have to realize where you are on the EQ scale, whether you have high EQ or low EQ, and then you can work at becoming better. So there are 5 elements, 4 or 5, depending on where you look, that make up emotional intelligence. There is self-awareness. This is where you recognize your own emotions and how they affect your thoughts and behavior, your own strengths and weaknesses, and self-confidence. And then there is self-regulation. This is where you're able to control your impulsive feelings and behavior, manage your own emotions in a healthy way, and take initiative, follow through with commitments, and adapt to changing circumstances. So being resilient. And there's motivation. Self-motivated people work consistently towards their goals. They're able to set a goal, make up their mind that they're going to accomplish it, and they have high standards for the quality of their work. And then there is empathy, or being able to empathize with others. People with empathy have the ability to put themselves in someone else's situation. They can grieve with others, and they can be upset with others and understand, wow, okay, considering the circumstances, this person has a right to be upset because of what's going on or what they've gone through, and they don't just disregard how people are responding, how people are reacting. And then lastly, there's social skills. This will be developing and maintaining good relationships, communicating clearly, inspiring and influencing others to work well in a team and manage conflict. So those are the key elements that make up emotional intelligence. So I think overall people have areas where they are stronger. Their EQ is higher in some areas as opposed to others. And it is so important because it helps you relate to people. We are constantly interacting with people. We're surrounded by people, family members, co-workers, neighbors. And if you have a low EQ, a lot of times those are the people that come across as jerks or just insensitive and things like that. So, like I said, this is something that can be improved. So let's talk about how you can actually improve your EQ. Number 1, responding instead of reacting to conflict. So I think a lot of times when there's conflict, the immediate response is to get defensive and put up a wall, or to attack, or to blame, or whatever. But emotionally intelligent people know how to stay calm during stressful situations. They don't make impulsive decisions that can lead to even a bigger problem. So I've heard the saying, don't make a permanent decision based on a temporary feeling or temporary emotion. So this is where you can apply that. They understand that in times of conflict, the goal is resolution, and they make it a conscious choice to focus on ensuring that their actions and words are aligning with that. So they're trying to bring peace and they're trying to bring harmony instead of escalating the situation and saying things or doing things that 5 minutes down the road or the next day they're going to regret. Number 2, empathy. So empathizing with others is so important. Understanding that empathy is a trait that shows strength, not weakness. So, some people might have mixed feeling about that word. They might think, oh, if you're empathetic, you're weak and you're soft, which is actually the opposite. And empathy helps us relate to others on a basic human level. It opens doors for respect and understanding between people, different situations, different opinions, different cultures, different backgrounds, different educational levels. So if you're just able to stop and just, reconsider, like, okay, from what I know about this person, what they're going through, how would I feel in this situation? And then just being able to relate to them and empathize with them. Number 3, utilizing active listening skills. So when you have a high emotional intelligence, you listen for clarity instead of just waiting for your turn to speak. You listen to understand what is being said and to actually be in the moment instead of just, somebody's talking and then you're thinking of your next response or your rebuttal. Okay, number 4, practicing self-awareness. So be aware of your own emotions and how they affect those around you. I've had those days when I just don't want to be around people. And, I have to understand that, like, okay, I'm feeling a little bit on edge today. So I just need to watch what I say, because if I say it's going to come across inconsiderate or snarky or rude, and then next day I'll feel fine, and then I've already have like this damage behind me, and you have to repair those pieces. So just being aware of what you're feeling at that time, whether you are upset or whether you are so excited and you just want everybody to feel the same excitement when they don't and they're going through their own things, or whatever it is. If you're frustrated, maybe from your job, or maybe you are just agitated, or you are feeling lonely, or maybe defensive, or whatever emotion it is at that time. If studies have shown, if you're able to name your emotion, a lot of times that you are actually able to cope with it and manage it better. So try to find the words for what you're feeling and be aware of what's going on in your mind so that you can work at it. All right, number 5, the last one here is be motivated or be motivating. So emotionally intelligent people are very self-motivated. They're able to set goals and they're able to achieve their goals, and they also have the ability to inspire and motivate others. Their attitude is just generally, hey, you can do it, you got this, go for it, which is what a lot of times that's what people need. They just need to know that somebody believes in them, or even if they don't do the best, there's still somebody in their corner who's going to help them and encourage them. Setting goals is important because that kind of gives you a direction of where you want to go. It might not always go as you expected. If you're kind of facing the right way, you are in the general area, that's going to help you even in the face of challenges. You are resilient and you're not too far off course, and you're able to find your bearings and pick up where you left off. So those are just a few ways you can improve your EQ. I know there's probably more you could find, but if you just kind of pick one of those areas and make it a point to say, I want to be a motivating person, or I'm not really good at handling my emotions. I fly off the handle really easily, and I want to work on that. So once you're able to kind of name or identify that one area that you need to work on, you're more aware of it, and then you'll start to notice those moments where you don't do as well as you had thought you would, and you can kind of coach yourself into being better next time. And this is not like a foreign concept. the idea of emotional intelligence has been around since the beginning of mankind. I think it's just in the last few decades, 30 maybe years, it has been named, but it's just that quality that, some people, they have good people skills and people like them, and they just relate well to people, and people are comfortable around them, and that's they're not jerks, and they're not selfish or inconsiderate with what they say, and they're understanding. That's a name for that quality. And there's a scripture in the Bible that says, those who are kind benefit themselves, but the cruel bring ruin on themselves. So people, I'm not saying anything you haven't seen or heard before, but people who are generally cruel or mean, it's just like their whole life, it's like they have this cloud around them, and nobody really likes to be around them unless they have to, or they are always so salty. So it doesn't have to be that way. You can be a person that people enjoy being around. And I think personally, as Christians, this is something that we need to work on, especially dealing with people. So, as a Christian, we are called to love people, to love our neighbor like ourselves. And if you have a low EQ, it's kind of hard to love people as yourself. And so we have to represent Christ, and we have to represent who he was. And I think, just reading the Bible, he had probably the highest EQ of all man. So if we want to be more like him, that's something that we need to work on. Motivating others, empathizing, listening to others, and not reacting to every conflict or every disagreement. For this episode, the book recommendation is Emotional Intelligence, Why It Can Matter More Than IQ by Daniel Goleman. So once again, not a sponsor, but the link is in the description, and you can also find it on my website. I do agree that emotional intelligence can be more important than your IQ, because it doesn't matter if you are a neuroscientist or an astrophysicist. If you don't have good people skills, that doesn't really mean anything in the long run. You might have a great job, but if everybody around you hates you, that's kind of a telltale sign of really the person you are. You might not have a degree, and maybe you have a 9th grade education, but you have compassion for people, and you are encouraging, and you have high EQ. That's what people are going to remember. They don't really care what your education level is, or how smart you are, or how many degrees you have, or anything like that. A lot of times, some people are too smart for their own good. They are book smart and they have high intelligence, but when it comes to social skills, they're very lacking. So and most of the time, you're relating with people on a social level, not on an intellectual level. So the challenge for this week is to just ask yourself, do you need to improve your EQ? If you do, just pick one area and work on that. If okay, I need to not react so quickly, just slowly work on it, and then over time, as you get better, pick another area. Like, this is something that can easily be improved if you just put the effort. And that is it for today's episode, folks. I'd like to thank you for joining me here in the waiting room. Look out for my next episode. In the meantime, please share this episode or this podcast with a friend. I'd love to hear your feedback, your experiences, your comments, your stories regarding this topic or any topic you might have listened to on the podcast. You can shoot me an email at thewaitingroom@gmail.com, or you can follow me on Instagram, The Waiting Room, and leave me a comment there. Also, don't forget to leave a review if you are listening on Apple Podcasts. Until then, take care.